Welcome back to the Clueless Catholic Podcast, where we are continuing the Awkward Saintly Dinner Party series with the hope of finding wisdom and inspiration from the saints. Now, that music before, I love that music, but it just reminded me just now of the show Frasier.
Oh, yeah, it does kind of remind you of that. Yeah, for sure.
I like tossed salad and scrambled eggs. Anyway, I just was thinking about that. All right. Well, today I want to tell you the story of one of the most fascinating saints in the history of the church, a man whose story involves courage, preaching, miracles, and a very strange, unforgettable moment that sealed his place in Christian memory forever. And I'm talking about Saint Denis of Paris. He is the saint that is often pictured carrying his own head.
Wait,
Yeah.
He's carrying his own head
Yeah.
away from his body?
Yeah. Yep.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I can't wait for you to hear the story.
Just so y'all know, I have not read nothing. I don't know who he is, so I'm learning with you. So what?
Yep. So yes, we will get to that part later, but let's first set the stage. So Saint Denis lived in the 3rd century, a time when Christianity was still illegal in the Roman Empire. The church was growing, spreading quietly from city to city, but always under the shadow of persecution. We don't know a lot about Saint Denis's early years. His birthplace is uncertain, though some traditions say he came from Italy. What we do know is that he was sent as a missionary bishop to the region of Gaul, which is now modern-day France, around the year 250 AD. And at that time, Paris wasn't the glittering city we know today. It was a Roman settlement where pagan temples dotted the city. Sacrifices were offered to Roman gods, and Christians were viewed with suspicion, sometimes even hatred. And into this world stepped Denis, a man of faith, courage, and deep love for the gospel. So when Denis arrived in Paris, he wasn't alone. He came with a couple of his companions, and together they began preaching the good news. They converted hearts and built foundations of what would one day become the Catholic Church in France. They preached openly about Jesus Christ, his death, his resurrection, and the salvation he offers. And many were drawn to their words. Conversions began happening, and communities of Christians began growing. But as always, in these early centuries, success in evangelization often came with danger. The local pagan priests, seeing their temples grow emptier, saw Denis and his companions as a threat. Rumors began to spread, tensions rose, and soon the Roman authorities got involved. So around the year 258 AD, persecution had intensified under the emperor, and Denis and his companions were arrested. But this didn't silence them. In prison, Denis continued to preach to fellow prisoners and even to some of the guards. Eventually, the Roman governor ordered their execution. They were taken to the highest hill of Paris, which was called the Hill of Martyrs. And there, Denis and his companions were tortured and finally condemned to death by beheading. And here is where Denis's story takes the most extraordinary turn. The executioner brought the sword down, and Denis was beheaded. But according to legend, Denis did not simply collapse. Instead, something miraculous happened. Denis picked up his own head, held it in his hands, and began to walk.
Oh my gosh.
So imagine this bishop holding his head, proclaiming the gospel with his last supernatural strength.
What in the world?
It's like sci-fi movie, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I know.
Like, how long did he do it?
This is where it's fun. So he is said to have walked about 6 miles from that hill to the place where he finally collapsed and died. And that site became a sacred place. But while he was walking, he was actually preaching the gospel at the same time.
So we're like people following him or something?
Yeah.
I'd have been totally freaked out. I don't know if I could follow. So, I mean, I know, preaching is great and all, but how do you, oh my gosh.
How do you do that without your head attached?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. And is
Little
there
crazy.
like blood everywhere? I don't know. This is morbid. I don't know.
That's why I'm thinking like this episode is probably rated R. Because this is something like the Headless Horseman kind of idea almost.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, but because of this miracle, Denis became one of the most famous cephalophores. So this is the word of the day. I never heard this word either. But it is a Greek word meaning head carriers. They had to come up with a word for this.
A head carrier. So apparently this happens often. What the heck? So do you use a head carrier or do you usually carry somebody else's head for some random reason? I mean, I don't get it. What am I missing?
I don't know. But to have a word reserved for this is just amazing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So anyway, after his death, the devotion to Saint Denis grew rapidly. He was seen not just as a martyr, but as the apostle for France. And there was actually a basilica of Saint Denis that was built where he collapsed. And it's actually one of the most important churches in all of Europe. And I never heard of it. How bad is that? Have you? The Basilica of St. Denis? Yeah.
No.
Apparently, if you visit it today, you will see tombs of French kings and queens stretching across centuries of history. I think that might be a really cool sight to see.
Is his head there? I'm just asking.
I'm not sure. It didn't say. If he's buried there, I'm sure his head is there. Don't you love this?
Yeah.
So yeah, so Saint Denis. So Saint Denis became the patron saint of Paris, and his image carrying his head became iconic in Christian art. And I got to be honest, I don't remember seeing.
I don't remember seeing any art.
I don't either.
Okay, comment below if you've seen art.
Saint Denis carrying his head.
Yeah.
Whew.
And where? Where would that be?
Well, it would have to be in Paris.
In Paris?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So whenever you go to Lourdes, stop by.
When I go to Lourdes, I'll go see. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, it's good times. Yeah. All right, so what do we in the 21st century do with the story of a saint who carried his head after martyrdom? Well, for one, Denis reminds us of the power of witness. His preaching was so bold that even prison walls couldn't contain it. And he also reminds us that faith demands courage. Denis knew preaching Christ in Paris could cost him his life, but he did it anyway. And finally, his cephalophore miracle, whether you see it literally or symbolically, teaches us that the gospel goes beyond human limits. Even when the world tries to silence us, Christ gives us strength to proclaim the truth. All right, so now we're going to pause for a moment. We're going to play our animated skit. We're going to invite St. Denis to our dinner table, and we'll see what we do. How awkward is that going to be? I don't know.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
That must be our guest. Everyone remember, be polite, no awkward questions.
This is us. Awkward questions are our specialty.
Did he just bring his own centerpiece?
Shh! That's St. Denis of Paris. He's a cephalophore.
Oh, what a four?
Bonjour, bonjour, allô, allô, comment ça va? Hello, everyone. Good day. Cephalophore. It means a head carrier. It's kind of my thing.
Well, welcome, St. Denis. Please have a seat.
All right, I will just sit here and I will set my head right here for you.
I'm so sorry. I don't know if I should make eye contact with his face or his neck.
Oh, don't worry, I get that all the time. Honestly, I rather like being in two places at once.
That's impressive. And also slightly terrifying.
So tell us the story. How did you end up like that?
Well, I was the first bishop of Paris, sent there in the 3rd century to share the good news, but not everyone liked that. I was arrested, tortured, and eventually beheaded on Montmartre.
And then you just picked it up and kept walking?
Oui, exactly. I walked several miles, preaching a sermon the whole way before finally resting.
Miles? With your head? I can barely walk to the fridge without tripping.
So, can I offer you something to drink? Wine? Water?
Oh, wine! Don't mind if I do.
Tonight we've prepared some French classics baguette, cheese, and coquavin. We thought you might appreciate a taste of home.
Ah, Paris. Even centuries later, it warms my heart to see its flavors live on. Food can carry faith too, you know. A shared meal can preach louder than words.
That's beautiful. A table is a pulpit in its own way.
Okay, but tell me, what was Paris like back then? Was it all romance and baguettes?
Not quite. It was a Roman city then, busy, noisy, suspicious of Christians. And that's why courage was needed. Faith had to shine brighter than fear.
Wow, and you didn't give up even when threatened.
My body fell, but Christ carried me further than I could walk alone.
Mm-hmm. That kind of faith still inspires Paris today. You're the reason they call Montmartre the Mount of Martyrs.
And the Basilica, the giant church where kings and queens are buried.
Ah oui, the Basilica of Saint Denis, a place where the faithful gather, and where I remind them it is not death that wins, but life in Christ.
Okay, but serious question. Do you ever misplace your head? Like, oh no, where did I leave it this time?
Well, let us just say it keeps me grounded.
Well, friends, I think we can all agree. Here's to St. Denis, the original headliner of Paris.
Now that's a toast I can drink to twice.
To
Saint Denis.
That's me.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed dinner.
Yes. And William just told me that in the Orthodox faith, they actually celebrate St. Denis on October 9th.
And that's coming up soon.
It is.
And here we never even heard of him.
No. And Orthodox knew all about it.
We've been missing out this whole time.
I know.
All right. So Saint Denis's story might sound strange, even shocking to modern era, but underneath the miraculous details, there's a simple truth. And that is he loved Christ so much that he gave everything for him, even his head. And in doing so, he planted the seed of faith in France, a faith that has endured for nearly 2 millennia. So the next time you think of Paris, beyond the Eiffel Tower and the cafes, remember St. Denis, the bishop who carried his head and carried the faith to a nation.
I will always think of that now when somebody says Paris.
You will always think of St. Denis now.
Yes.
Me too. I don't think I'll ever forget him now.
No.
I'm going to have to get a picture or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna Google it when we're done because
Yeah.
I'm curious now.
All right. Thanks for joining our awkward saintly dinner party. Coming up next week, we'll be joined by a guest who literally left the party behind. She spent years alone in the desert, but don't worry, she's got stories that are anything but dry. Until next time, keep stumbling toward heaven, and remember, God loves working with the clueless and continues to call us home.
Bye.
Amen.
Thanks so much. See you next time.